What is going on, everybody? Bobby Fire, Eric Sheetshaber. We're going to be talking through this NBA DFS slate first look. Did not do well yesterday. It was, it wasn't even the much of the scrambling for me. It just I just ended up playing too much of the chalk Reggie Jackson and too much of the chalk of Kelly Oubre. I did go way overweight on the Edwards or whatever the play you needed, but I didn't just didn't quite get the right mix because I played a little bit too much of those guys and couldn't quite rebound from it everywhere else. Played one big lineup. I just bubbled that one, which is always a little frustrating. But on the fair side, I was on the right side of the bubble the night before in the same tournament, so can't really complain too much on that one. But we're ready to get back after it today. Sheets, how did you do? And then let's get into the slate.
Well, what I did was I did a whole video of late swap, which I put up on the site. Hopefully people got something out of it.
Oh, awesome.
And the not to say that I wish the Philadelphia value didn't happen because then it would have gone the other way. But my favorite play on the slate was freaking Scoot Henderson.
I know.
Wasting like cheapos before I could even get to him.
Exactly. And he was like what's weird is he was looking like such a great play all day. And then obviously no one ends up playing him because of all the other stuff. And of course he has the best game of his life by far. Yeah. And by the way, I did a late swap. I'll mention piece to people. I'm going to be going in every day. And I'll be I don't know what the times will be. I'll try to post it in the Discord, but I'll be going in the Discord and just doing live late swap in there, where it's a voice channel where you can talk back with me and whatnot. Not everybody's familiar with it yet. So me and Goldie set it up yesterday. We did one for about 20 minutes, but trying to get people familiar. Only a few people showed up because it's a new way of doing things, but we do want to do things just for our premium members only. And so I wanted to be able to offer that for as far as late swap goes. I know some people still have trouble with the, you
should have Jordan come in and do it with you, by the way.
I would love to. Once we get a little more traction, once we get a few more people in there, I would love to do that.
He would do it anyway. No. I mean, just to walk you through how to use it.
Oh no, I'm pretty good with how to use it. I think that more I want to show other people how to use it, but
okay.
I think I've got a pretty good idea about the best ways to use it. The only problem I run into ever is when I want to put a slant on a certain player. Last night it was D'Angelo Russell for me. I was stuck on him all day. He, by the way, was great. As it turned out, just again, it was harder to get to that value than it looked like it was going to be earlier today. All right, Sheets. So what do you think of any overall thoughts on this slate before we sort of jump into game by game here?
First of all, a couple of things. I don't know if I'm going to have it in me to go live later, but it's a good slate to do. There's a big FanDuel tournament tonight.
Yeah, that 555, 200K for first. Oof.
Yeah, that's an interesting one. So I'll put a little more work into the FanDuel today, and we'll see if I'm just haven't been feeling all that great. So I don't know if I'll be able to stay up for it, but if I can, I will. I guess my first question is: are we going to have to do this whole Philly thing all over again?
No, I don't think so, because I think that they were resting these players specifically knowing they were on a back-to-back and sort of like, I mean, look, you have to take a tough choice, right? Who are we more likely to lose to? And we're probably more likely to, if we're going to lose, let's lose to the team that's out of our conference that beats the hell out of everybody anyway. And the Knicks are really good too, but they're not the Thunder. The Thunder just nobody beats all year long. So I think they kind of just forfeited the game last night, and I think they're going to play these guys tonight.
And meanwhile, it was like a 5-point game in the fourth quarter.
No, I know, it was crazy, and it looked at first like okay, oh my god, they're going to score like 5 points this game or whatever, and then they went on a little bit of a run with the backups, so they ended up twice making a run with the backups and hanging in there.
And my overall views, I mean, once again, I have a couple of teams that's getting all kinds of value here, and we'll have to see what we want to do with that. I mean, Knicks Philly, I mean, right off the bat, I mean, I'm getting like nothing. I mean, almost literally nothing. Do you have anything in this game?
No, I don't. I think that this is like I said, assuming that and look, maybe somebody or other sits, or I don't think so though, just based on what I'm seeing right now. I'm having a little bit of a problem with my projections for some reason on the TrueDFS thing. They're not showing up per game. Yeah, there we go. Now it's got it. But no, I didn't get to anything in this game as of right now. If there was anything, yeah, like Anunoby is fine. Embiid is probably the one I would take a shot with, assuming that he plays. If he doesn't, then we're looking back again at Paul George, probably, maybe Tyrese Maxey, but we'll see. They sat literally everybody on the front end, so I'm assuming that these guys are going to play on the back end. If they don't, they're kind of just forfeiting their season because they're the worst team in the NBA against teams with a winning record that's actually like somewhat relevant. I think they're 2-17 or 2-16 now, and out of their next 16 games, 15 of them are against teams with winning records. So Philly kind of needs to start winning some games. So I got nothing there. I'm going to jump over to Boston and Toronto. Anything showing up for you here? Because
no, I mean it's very helpful because I would kind of want to eat dinner, and it'd be nice if I had literally nothing in the 7 o'clock, 7:30 games. And right now, that's kind of what I'm getting is nothing.
Yeah, and that's where I'm at. I don't see it. I think everyone is fine. I think maybe a low on Derek White is something I thought about, but nothing that stands out. And on the Toronto side, Podol would be the only one that I'm especially interested in. Don't mind Scotty Barnes, but I think that mostly it'll be probably Podol or nothing. We're quickly out. I think Scotty Barnes might be a little bit under projected, but that's the only other one that stood out to me. But nothing that's a priority in any way for me there. All right, and then Dallas in New Orleans. Man, Dallas looked pretty awful last night. They didn't put up any kind of a fight. The Kyrie I was going to ask you about this. The Sims were giving me no matter what, and they still had Kyrie with like almost no projection, like at 33. They had this is before he announced that he was likely to play and all this stuff. And no matter what I did, it was giving me 100% of them. If I had other things, and he had no projection, and also showing no ownership. But I guess what they're looking at then is the range of outcomes for him is high enough to where if he crushes and he's really 1% owned, that you're in there. Is that what it is? I mean, I couldn't figure out the logic.
I have no
That's
idea.
that's one of those that on my notes to talk to Jordan and try and get some more clarity, because I was sort of shocked. I liked it a little bit, but I was sort of shocked.
You should also really start to get into the SaberSim Discord more. I mean, they talk about all that stuff a lot.
Yeah. I'll make sure to get back in there. Yeah, I forgot to join while I was gone. But I don't know. Yeah, I mean, about this Dallas and New Orleans game, I think that it's the very clear smash like for Gafford. You have no Lively, and I think you could also argue for some of these other low-owned plays. Kyrie on a back-to-back where he didn't play a ton the first game, and PJ Washington I think is kind of interesting. So I like this game maybe a little bit more than the field does. I think Gafford is one of the best plays on the slate, obviously, and I wish more looked good from a point per dollar standpoint. But I'm okay with taking a shot on a low-owned DeJounte Murray. I'm okay with taking a shot, and I'm not sure that all these guys are going to play on the back-to-back. I'm after shoot around, we'll take another look, but I just think this game could go better. A little better than projected. And New Orleans has been playing. They were the second slowest paced team through the first part of the year, but now as they're currently constructed, they're like the 10th fastest team that's playing right now. So I think it's just worth noting that. So mostly Gafford, but a little bit of the New Orleans stuff as well.
Yeah, for me, I'm actually getting kind of a ton of Trey Murphy. Right now.
Okay.
Right now, I'm getting 84% of Trey Murphy, which is kind of weird to see at 7,400. But for whatever reason, that's what I'm spitting out right now. And just to put a bow on that Toronto game for now, I am getting a little bit. Well, I thought I was. Yeah, I mean, I'm getting a little bit of Scotty Barnes and Pirtle from that game. I mean, actually, but not too much. But yeah, for some reason, my work is getting me quite a bit of Trey Murphy. And, excuse me, look at that. I get CJ McCollum too. So see what I'm getting of that. CJ McCollum, I'm getting like 20% of him also. So we'll see how it turns out.
Yeah, and I'm guessing you're getting to the Gafford, obviously.
No, maybe I'm missing something with the projection. Maybe
I think so. So I think what's happening is that some, and I've seen it different places, but. So Lively went out with an injury last night. SaberSim has him doubtful with like a projection of 1 fantasy point, which is kind of curious. Which means that Daniel Gafford has a projection of 30 on SaberSim, but meanwhile other sites have him much lower. But it's really just depends on what happens with the what's his name with the Lively. But I'm assuming Lively's out. So if
I have Gafford at like 23. That's like what I think.
Yeah, I think he'd end up. I think that if everybody you see him, I think you'd see him at around 7x if there's no Derek Lively.
Okay.
So that's probably the one that I'm going to look out for. But this is probably when the slate starts for me as of right now, because I'm not that interested in the first game. So that's one that I'm looking at. All right. Orlando and Milwaukee. Anything you like over here?
I did not. Currently, I'm really not getting much of anything over there. Let me just see, even projection-wise, what I might get. How did Giannis started off really nicely last night? I don't know how he finished.
Yeah, he had a big game.
Yeah, I mean, he looks, I guess, okay. I have the other spend ups a little bit better than him, but he looks fine. What else? Orlando, nothing really. Just kind of a pass again.
I think Jonathan Isaac is being maybe a little bit over projected, but I did want to
again with the Jonathan Isaac. That's so funny.
I mean, but the thing with him, I love him as a basketball player because he's just an incredible all around defender, and he never ever needs any ball or anything. So I'm a big Jonathan Isaac guy, but I'm not sure that we can safely project his median for as high as SaberSim has it right now. I do think that if he doesn't get as much ownership, he's played 27 minutes, and he played at a 25-minute game and a 27-minute game in the last week, and this guy has not played those kind of minutes basically in 5 years. So if we're assuming that he's going to play, what do we have him at minutes wise? They've got him at 24. If he's going to play 24 minutes, this is a fair projection for him. He should be a fantasy point per minute guy. I really like him. They'll use all of his 6 fouls on Giannis, and he'll defend the rest of the time. So I actually think Isaac and Cole Anthony are pretty interesting to me today. And I also don't mind the idea of a little bit of Wendell Carter. Just think, Milwaukee plays pretty fast. This game still got a low total, but Cole Anthony at 6,200, people won't want the price, but I think that he's a reasonable play. And then obviously Giannis is questionable on the back-to-back. Assuming that he's a go, I like Giannis. That's pretty much it.
Yeah, I'm in the San Antonio game. I'm getting a decent amount of this. Stefan Castle, I have him as the top point per dollar play right now, and as does about 35% of the field apparently. Then I have Keldon Johnson at 4,300, seems pretty cheap, and then even Vassell at 6K. And then Wemby at 11-2. So all these San Antonio guys look pretty good here. I'm not seeing much on Memphis, but all those San Antonio guys are rating pretty strongly for me.
Yeah, I'm sort of with you here. The Memphis side is just tough to get to in general. I think Ja is in reality just too cheap. I think we got to sort of start treating this like, okay, he's coming back. He's had a few games under his belt since the injury. I think that we can start playing him at 8,500, just taking the chance. Now, look, he hasn't put up that monster game. The minutes haven't gone crazy, but I think he's completely worth gambling on as long as he's this cheap. And yeah, so I'll throw Ja Morant into my one Memphis play. Spurs, shout out to them. They've been good this year. I feel like I was right with them to be battling for a playoff spot. They actually, some of my friends got 10-1 on them to make the playoffs this year, which is kind of wild, and they certainly have a chance. On the other side, okay, so I get the Castle thing. I'm currently going along with it, but I do feel like there is room for it being Champagny or Castle. And there's just when a lot of guys project, fairly well. I think it's just a little bit hard to figure sometimes, but I do currently have the Castle. I like Vassell a lot here, and it's a fast-paced game. I love Wemby, love Wemby here. He's my favorite spend up. So Vassell, Castle, Vassell, Castle, and Wembanyama, followed by Champagny, Keldon Johnson, Chris Paul. All 6 of those guys, though, are heavily of interest to me. Memphis plays the fastest of anybody in the NBA. The Spurs play fast as well. So I think that's a game you want to get exposure to, especially on the Spurs side at home.
So now you get a little break, then you get all these Utah guys who, at least for now, are just popping up. And I know what you're going to say. It's
we know it's coming.
We know it's coming. But as far as median projections go, I mean, I'm getting like 400,000% of like Bryce Sensabaugh and Keontae George and even to some degree, Walker Kessler, Filipowski looks like a good play. Even Eubanks looks like a good play here. But why don't you go ahead and give your cautionary tales about playing too much Utah?
I will, but first I'm going to mention that I really like LaMelo as well tonight. If I had a way to spend up like last night, I think LaMelo might be my other guy. Well, maybe. I don't know. There's other guys I like too, but along with Wemby, I really like LaMelo in this matchup. And I also will go back to the Mark Williams thing. I'm going to – I don't want to say die on this hill because it's going to work a lot of the time. It's just I just think that he's got so much more upside than his price. I mean, look – he might get the dud game we got last time with 24, but then he puts up the next game, he goes out and puts up 52. He's got a huge ceiling, and I really like Mark Williams. So Williams and LaMelo are both high on my list, and which is good because on the other side, there's a lot of things showing up. Keontae George is questionable. If he's back, hopefully we'll know it earlier in the day. He's probably too cheap, but I also think he's going to be on some sort of a minutes limit, just guessing. After missing some time, maybe around 28 instead of the 30 he's projected for. Now, is that enough to affect? He's still going to look like a pretty decent play. So I do have George as one of the guys I'm considering. And I just want to mention, though, that like as I always do, Utah's going to play like 10 or 11 guys like almost all the time. And even when guys are out, that's what they do. And just because, Hendricks, Juzang, Clarkson, Collins, Markkanen, and Sexton are all out, I do think Keontae George is the obvious one. However, just remember that sometimes it doesn't always go this way. Sensabaugh at this price, because he can play enough minutes and not get there, I still think I'm probably leaning towards playing him. So those are the two obvious ones. But if you wanted to get a little bit creative, I think that Filipowski and Collier, as well as potentially Cody Williams, would be the ones I could look at as contrarian ways of, hey, if it doesn't work out for these guys and for Utah tonight, I really like these guys. So that's the way I'm looking at it. And Utah with their weird tank and just sitting all the people, and some of them are hurt, some of them aren't, whatever. I think this is a spot where George and Sensabaugh are the obvious ones, but I do think you can get a little creative, and it's really going to come down to whether George plays or not. I assume he will, but I know it's not a for sure thing yet.
For what it's worth, Collier is showing up as extremely good play on FanDuel.
Yeah. Oh, okay. So Collier on FanDuel. Yeah. Okay. All right, I noted on that one. All right. Next up, we have the Houston and Denver.
Yeah,
a great game.
Yeah, and unfortunately, I don't know what I'm actually going to be getting of this. I think I'm just getting too much Jokic. Wemby to be getting too much Jokic. I think that's kind of the issue here. And aside from that, just not. Hey, you know what? I'm getting some Westbrook. That's not. It's kind of tough to play him at 7K, but I'm still getting that. Houston, if you want, you could play Cam Whitmore at 3,500. That's not bad. But Jalen Green obviously went off in his last game. He's feeling it. But this whole game seems kind of very secondary to me.
Yeah, I hear you. I think that's sort of my feeling as well. I love this game as a real life game, and I think I'm going to go back. You know what I'm going to do? It just really depends on
How about we do like Jalen Green, Russell Westbrook, or something?
How about we just always play Amen Thompson?
Okay, you can do that too.
He just does everything, man. I love this guy. I think that Amen Thompson is the mid-range darling for me anyway. Jalen Green, he was unconscious the other night. Yep. We know with him though, it's just a range of outcomes depending on how well he shoots.
Yeah.
The Şengün, the Jokic versus his predecessor, Şengün, Whitmore, they're all interesting to me actually. So, but Thompson is the one I'll actually go ahead and flag plant myself with on. I just think that this guy, he can score 7 real life points and put up 50 fantasy points. He just does everything on the court. And I love him. I love his style. I love everything about him. If we have the money, I like getting to Jokic tonight. Jamal Murray was absolutely out of control last night, which prevented everybody else from Denver. I mean, he scored 30 points in the first half in real life, like scored 30 real life points. And it sort of took away all the other Denver, scoring options basically. But I don't mind the idea of going back to Westbrook or Jokic, but I currently have Wemby ahead of Jokic. Look, if I can get both of those guys in, or one of them in with LaMelo, that feels like a pretty good way to go if we can get enough value to make that happen. All right, and then we have Golden State and Minnesota to close it out.
Golden State, Minnesota. I'm just kind of scrolling down, and it's not seeming like I'm getting much. I'm getting Naz Reid as usual, a little bit, like 15%. That's pretty much it. I mean, what is this? I got a little Jade McDaniels in the build. That's pretty much it, though.
Yeah, didn't get to much myself here either. Draymond's still questionable. If you just wanted to take a shot on Curry, the price is reasonable enough to where I think you could do that. The only reason I like the Jaden Daniels thing is because it's a later game, and then also Naz Reid is 5,100, but if he was 4,500, everybody would be playing him. So it's not that big of a gap to me. Both he and Rudy Gobert are guys that I would certainly not mind getting to a little bit of in this matchup, particularly Naz Reid though. So those would be my favorites, but nothing revolutionary. I guess we should mention the FanDuel, and I can go through that. I don't know if you've looked at it yet. But FanDuel's got 3 more games than DraftKings does. No, 2 more games. They've got the Miami and the Laker game and then the Clipper game, which still very strange out here. We'll see. We'll make sure those games.
What's interesting is that I'm getting none of it, any of it in my FanDuel builds. Like I'm looking at my FanDuel build right now. It's the same guys from before: Utah, San Antonio, New Orleans, a little more Memphis, I guess. I guess Hero would be the first guy that shows up, and I'd be getting about 25% of that. Like I'm getting Anthony Davis. What's the percentages here? I mean, not much, like 15%. Jaquez and Rozier from Miami. So those last couple of games, I'm actually fading for the most part on FanDuel.
Interesting, yeah. Like I think that like both LeBron and AD are totally reasonable, but again, not priorities. I think that Jaquez and Hero are fine. Jaquez especially, I think I could take a shot on. He's back in LA, little back home narrative. With the Brooklyn and Clipper game though, like I don't know who the hell is playing.
Right.
And I have a bunch of Ds, a bunch of doubtfuls that are still getting some sort of a projection. And I think that Noah Clowney and Day'Ron Sharpe become like one of them at least. I think Clowney's the one. He's been awesome. But Clowney and Day'Ron Sharpe are potentially like spectacular plays. Maybe the best value on the slate, and they're not, we don't know yet because Cameron Johnson, Nick Claxton, D'Angelo Russell are all questionable, are all doubtful, but yet getting a projection, which is keeping their numbers a little bit off for everyone else. So without more information, I would say go out of your way and try to force in one of Clowney or Sharpe at least. That would be my take. And on the Clippers side, really, really, really hard to find anything that makes much sense to me. If you wanted to play any of these guys, Harden or Kawhi, I'm sorry, not Kawhi, Harden or Zubac, no problem with it. By the way, Zubac, of course, smashed again the other night, didn't he? I think he did against Bam. He was on his way to smashing for sure. I saw that early on. Yeah, he had 52. This Zubac is just like, I mean, if you look at this game log, you're like, what is he 7,400 for? But it's like he either puts up 16 or he puts up 55. It's every game. It's like that. For what it's worth, guys, the bets were a very, very comfortable 3-0. Nothing even close yesterday. I'm doing more betting. And I posted it on the site yesterday. I had we nailed it. We got the outright wins when we were looking for the points. We got the under that covered by like 10 points. So keep an eye out for those bets. They've been on fire for the last couple of years. So I would suggest you guys take a look at them if you have any interest. All right, man. And we're going to come back with some golf, right?
Give me like 10 minutes.
Sounds good. All right. Good luck to everybody. And we'll see you back here for golf or in the Discord later and live at 6 Eastern.